All right, so how can we understand central banks? Well, the main function of central banks is to control the money supply, okay? So money is just a concept, it's an idea, it's something that we just made up. And the way the central bank controls money is by controlling its scarcity, which creates the illusion that it's valuable, okay? Also, you're forced to use money to buy things as well as pay taxes, take out loans, all right? And they control the interest rate, which is the cost of borrowing money. So another way of saying this is, one mechanism the central bank has to control the economy is by lowering or increasing interest rates. If it lowers interest rates, it's just easier, cheaper to borrow money, right? So you can go buy a house or buy a car. If they increase the interest rate, it's more expensive, so people spend less money. So through that mechanism, they're able to control the supply of money in the system. All right? All right, so how can we understand what central bankers are? Well, I'll give you 3 possible metaphors, okay? And I think these are all legitimate. Central bankers are the ultimate priests. They must control the flow of money to maintain the illusion that money is God. In this way, they are the new Catholic Church, okay? Remember, the Catholic Church in medieval Europe was the dominant power. It was beyond nations. It represented God on earth. Well, that's what central bankers are today. But also, you can think of central bankers as the game masters. They must control the flow of money to motivate people to play the game. As we discussed when we discussed the Americans, today we live not in a civilization, but in a game where we're all individual players trying to make as much money as possible. Now, central bankers are the ones who control the rules of this game. Last metaphor is central bankers are drug pushers. To expand their dominance, they offer easy money, and once a country is addicted or bankrupt, they hijack the financial system, which means to privatize or make independent the central bank, okay? So how do central bankers work? Well, let's do an experiment, okay? Let's use a thought experiment. Let's just say I'm a central bank, and I'm trying to get you to become addicted to my power, right? So what I do is this. I say to you, hey, here's $10,000. And you're like, okay, and what do you want for $10,000? I'm like, nothing. Just go enjoy yourself. So you take that $10,000 and you go on vacation to Hawaii, you live in a 5-star hotel, you're really happy. You come back and you say, that was great, can I get more money? And I'm like, here's $1 million, go and enjoy yourself. And you're like, what do you want for it? And I'm like, nothing, just go enjoy yourself. So you go, but this time you're smarter, you're like, no, this money is limited. I need to go invest it if I want to generate more money, okay? Otherwise, I have to go back to the bank and get more money. So you start opening businesses, you invest in restaurants and ski resorts, who knows, okay? But you have all these investments. The problem is you really don't know what you're doing. And you make these bad investments. And eventually what you recognize is you're in debt now. You had $1 million, but now you owe $10 million. So you come back to the bank and you say, listen, I need $10 million. I'm like, fine, but now you have to give me your soul. And you're like, you're just stuck, okay? That's how central banks work. I know this sounds terrible, but that's really how they work in the world, all right? So now I'll give you examples. All right, so what central banks do is they have the power of God. They're alchemists, basically, because they can take paper, which we know is worthless, and turn it into gold, which is what everyone wants. Now, something to remember, and this is really important, is that throughout history, whenever there's a major power, there's always a rising power that challenges it. So in our world today, there's no nation state that can challenge the power of the central banks. But there are these technology companies that are arising that are trying to displace them from godhood, okay? So Bitcoin is something they've invented. It is the American military's fail-safe system in case the American government defaults on the debt and the US dollar loses its reserve currency status. So Bitcoin is being controlled by the American military along with certain technology companies, and they're trying to displace the USD. All right, so there's a conflict going on here. All right, also, artificial intelligence will be used to create the illusion of God, right? Why is there so much investment interest in artificial intelligence? Because even though it doesn't really work that well, it can trick people into believing it is God, that it is omniscient, that it is always right, that it's the ultimate authority. Last example is social media, video games, and porn are the drug of the 21st century, okay? So in other words, these technology companies, they're really in the process of creating a matrix in which we just live in a simulation and we're all slaves to the simulation. Okay, so this is something that we have to think about, how the central banks are in power, but there's always powers that are rising and which will challenge the power of the central banks.